Alright. So, we're doing the Slay the Spire Relic tier list. I have the Relic page open here. I have the tier list here. Just having some fun. Gonna go ahead and bang this out real quick. So, let me go over some background stuff for everybody. First off, my experience with Slay the Spire. I play Slay the Spire quite a bit. Play it for a lot of fun. I don't super try and go for Ascension 20 or anything. I kind of just play for fun most of the time. I have Ascension 9, I think, on the Silent, Ascension 6 on most of the other characters. I mostly play the Silent. I play the Watcher and the Defect quite a bit, not as much, but still pretty regularly. I do not play the Ironclad very much. I just don't like the way they play. So that is some stuff you might want to know to inform, so you understand why I might say some of the things I say, to show you what experience I have. And finally, I want to go over what the tiers mean. S tier, these are going to be for relics that I think will either have amazing value for you every time you pick them up, they'll do you a ton, or have a good chance to just win you the game. Whereas 50% of the time you see them or there are a lot of decks you'll build where it's if I get this is gonna basically win the game for me, or they're gonna do so much for you over the course of the run that it's a big boon literally no matter what you're doing. A tier relics will win you the game sometimes, or are consistently pretty good or to very good. B tier relics are relics that are pretty good. Either they're pretty situational, but they can be really good sometimes, or are always just okay. C tier relics, these are pretty meh, but they have pretty situational uses or can be good whenever. D tier relics are relics that I really just don't like very much. They don't do very much either because they're extremely situational or they're just bad. F tier relics are relics that I think are actively bad, and I don't like them. Anything below C tier, I'm going to consider taking Sapphire Key instead of that relic a lot of the time. So that's kind of my line for what goes in D and F tier. Everything above that is or whatever. So let's start off. Akabeko. Akabeko, if I remember correctly, I'm going to go over this for everything. Akabeko, first attack, each combat deals 8 additional damage. It's really good. I think that's B tier. This helps out with a lot of fights. It can be better. It can really carry you if you get certain attacks that hit multiple times or something. For example, stuff like Riddle with Holes, if you're playing the Silent, Sword Boomerang, cards like that, really good with. Outside of that, it kind of just helps a lot. There are a lot, especially early on. Akabeko is one of the best relics that you can get Act 1, because there are lots of fights where Strike plus Akabeko, unupgraded Strike plus Akabeko is 14 damage. That will kill some of the trash mobs early on, but that's enough to for instance, kill one of the gremlins in the gremlin gang. It'll take out some of the worms in certain fights, which is really helpful. And if you have AoE with Akabeko, you can just do a shit ton of damage to stuff like that. First S tier relic is Anchor. Anchor is so much value across the course of a game. 10 block every combat on turn 1. Anchor, start combat gate 10 block. It's amazing. It does so much for you. It does just an incredible amount of just blocking stuff. A lot of the time, even in Act 3 on turn 1, 10 block is a good amount to where you either a lot of the time you either just don't need to play any block cards because the 10 block covers you, so you can spend your entire turn attacking or playing powers, or you only need to play one block card to full block. And a lot of times you can just not block, take 6 damage instead of 16 damage, and spend your entire turn 1 setting up or dealing damage, which is just so much value. This relic's incredible. Ancient Tea Set. Whenever you enter a rest site, you start the next combat with 2 extra energy. Kind of C tier. The issue with Ancient Tea Set is that it's just really hard to make work. The thing is about energy is that you kind of plan for how much energy you have in your deck, right? So for instance, if I have 4 energy, right, because I take an energy relic, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm either going to be looking for some more 2-cost cards that I normally couldn't always afford to play to put into my deck, or I'm going to be looking for more draw to find my more impactful, more powerful cards more often. That's something I'm going to be looking for. You can't really do that with Ancient Tea Set. It just doesn't work, you know? It's too inconsistent as to when it gives you your energy, so you kind of just have to hope that you draw 5 energy worth of cards. Like, you can't put more draw in your deck, because if you're on a 3 energy deck, it just doesn't do that much. It's whatever. Art of War. If you don't play any attacks during your turn, you gain extra energy next turn. It's like B tier. There are some decks where this just doesn't do anything. There are lots of decks where you're just going to be playing attack every turn, and so you just can't use this. There are also some decks where this is just a better energy relic, essentially. Turn 1 doesn't do anything, but if you're playing like Defect and you're just doing orb spam and you're not playing any attacks, which you can do, you can just have this give you 5 energy every turn. You play an insane number of cool-headeds and like zaps or whatever to spam orbs. You can, if you're playing like Ironclad, you can build like a Juggernaut barricade deck and just play all your block cards and just cycle that way, get 5 energy, like just do incredible stuff, and just stall until you can just kill people because you're super set up. Pretty much every class has something like that they can do with this. The thing is that it's very inconsistent. This is an S tier relic sometimes, but it's like a D tier relic all the other time, so which is why it averages out to B tier. Astrolabe, first boss relic. It's all the way down here. Astrolabe, upon pickup you choose and transform 3 cards, then upgrade them. A tier, this is really good. One of the things that you're gonna, that you do when you play Spire is, especially if you're playing like the Silent, is you're just trying to get rid of the shitty strikes and defense in your deck. Astrolabe is one of the best ways and most consistent ways to do that. It's also like a lot better than something like Birdcage, which just removes 2 cards, because it transforms them into better cards. If you're transforming strikes and defense, the cards you're getting are almost certainly better than what you started with. There are very few cards that you don't want to have. Like, for instance, this can transform stuff into like some of the unplayable silent cards, Tactician and Reflex. But even then, a lot of the time, you can still find some way to use them, and even then, like a lot of the time, I'll still keep them and continue removing other strikes. I'll just take like more acrobatics or something. Pretty much every card in the game is better than strike and defense, so getting rid of them and upgrading the cards that you get afterward is incredibly good. Transform is a very, very strong mechanic. Next up is Bag of Marbles, all the way up here. At the start of combat, apply 1 vulnerable to all enemies. It's like B tier, probably low B tier. It helps. It helps you get some damage off. Again, you're not really going to be attacking on turn one that often, but especially like early on, Act 1 and stuff can do a lot. It can help you like snipe, like for, the Act 2 Elite, I think it's Gremlin Leader. This can help you snipe some of its little trash mobs at the beginning, which can be really helpful. It's really nice to have. It just does a lot for you. Bag of Prep, A tier relic. Bag of Prep says at the start of each combat you draw 2 additional cards. You get a 7-card hand on turn 1. Just an amazing card. Amazing relic. It does so much for you. Drawing 7 cards on turn 1 lets you get a more consistent turn 1, a lot of fights, and that's really helpful. That's because it's turn 1, you can use it to set up stuff that's gonna let you be in a really good position for the rest of the fight. Next up is a Birdface Urn. It's a rare relic. Whenever you play a power, heal 2 HP. It's like B tier. It's alright. Any healing is nice. Healing is pretty hard to do. Any healing that you don't need to rest at a campfire for is really nice, is what I should say. There are definitely classes where you play a lot of powers. Like the Defect, for instance, is probably like maybe an S tier relic for the Defect. But there are also some classes that you're only playing like 2 or 3 powers. A combat, maybe, in which case it's only healing for like 6 HP-ish a fight. It's not that amazing a lot of the time. I could see arguments for it being an A tier instead, but I think overall it's just an okay relic. Black Star, F tier. This is F tier because it's a boss relic. Replaces your Burning Blood, and at the end of combat you heal 12 HP instead of 6 HP. Never click this. This doesn't actually give you anything. Healing more HP each combat isn't good enough value, like you should be able to be fine with just burning blood, honestly. And you're the issue here is the opportunity cost. You give up so much by taking burning blood instead of a better boss relic. Next up is Black Star, also a boss relic. One of the normal ones. Elites now drop 2 relics when defeated. I think this is a high B tier relic, maybe a low A tier. It can be really nice. If you get this Act 1 and you're in a position where it's like, yeah, I can go hunt some Act 2 elites, you can take this and it'll put you in a really good position. The problem is that it doesn't actually do anything. It does not give you any boosted power whatsoever to your deck at all. And that sucks. That really, really sucks. And especially because like Act 2 and Act 3 elites are so difficult to fight a lot of the time. You're not necessarily going to be in a position where you can actually benefit too much from Black Star. So it is a bit of a risky take sometimes. But it also... There are a lot of situations where it makes a lot of sense to take. There are a lot of situations where you're like, yeah, this is definitely the best thing for me to grab here. So I think it's pretty good as a high B tier relic. It can definitely give you a lot of value. It can definitely put you on a winning path, but there's a lot of opportunity costs involved. Blood Vial, D tier. Blood Vial says at the start of each combat you heal 2 HP. It's okay. 2 HP isn't very much. It doesn't do a lot for you. It is a way of healing that you want always have. So it's something like if you're like, for instance, taking Coffee Dripper down here, it can be fine. It can make your Coffee Dripper better, but it's just like it doesn't do a lot. It just doesn't give you much actual power. And it heals so little that it's hard to actually make work a lot of the time. Next up is the this is an event relic, right? Sure is. Bloody Idol. Whenever you gain gold, heal 5 HP. It's B tier. Really, really good. There are lots of ways for this to gain you a lot of shit. It's a little bit harder to make work than something like Birdface Turn, I think, but Birdface Turn also heals less HP. This basically says this is almost heal 5 HP in combat, because at the end of combat you get to take 5 gold, which does, or you get to take gold, which will heal you 5 HP. So it's sort of similar to Burning Blood, but it can be a lot better. It can heal a lot more, and that's nice. It's really nice healing to have. And if you can take it, you'll take it a lot of the time. It's really solid. Blue Candle, like D tier, just doesn't do a lot. So it's an uncommon relic. Curse cards can now be played. Playing a curse will make you lose 1 HP and exhaust the card. It's okay. There are certain things you can do with it. It's nice to be able to get curses out of your deck, but like, how I guess I just don't rely on taking curses a lot of the time. It just doesn't do a lot, right? Like why would I? Well, the thing is that like you kind of have to get Blue Candle, and it's like, okay, now I have Blue Candle. Now I can take curses a bit more sometimes, right? But like, if I see Blue Candle in an early chest, a lot of the time I'm just gonna be like, I'll just take the Sapphire Key, because I'll probably get that way I can keep a relic later on, and that relic's probably gonna be better than Blue Candle. It's probably gonna be better than the value I get from being able to exhaust my curses. Especially since like a lot of the time, like if I really want to take in order to take a curse, I often just look ahead and say, okay, can I go to a shop? Can I fight with this curse in my deck through a few fights and then just remove it? And the answer is often yes, and I'll often just do that. So that's why I'm not that high on Blue Candle. I think it's easier to just path your run around not needing Blue Candle. The Boot, Common Relic. Whenever you would deal 4 or less damage with an unblocked attack damage increases to 5. F tier. This never does anything. This does like so little extra damage over the course of the run. Basically, any other relic is going to help you do more damage. There's just not really a good situation for it. Next up, we have the bottles. The bottles are really, really interesting. If I can find them on here, are they rare relics? They're uncommon relics. Okay. Bottle Flame. Upon pickup, choose an attack. Puts an attack in your hand every combat. F tier. Very rarely good. and it's more often bad than not. The thing is, out of all the card types, attacks are what you want to be playing on turn one the least. They on turn one, either the opponent's going to be attacking you for some damage, and you're probably going to want to block a little bit, or they're not attacking you, in which case you're better off playing something like an Inflame to scale all your attacks for the rest of the fight, or any other power that starts to get you a lot of value. You just never want to start a fight by attacking. Skills and powers based off what they do more for you when they played early, whereas attacks are where you want to end the fight with. So getting to draw and attack every single fight is just not that good. There are certainly times where you do want to take it. For example, if you're like you could do something funny with like Meteor Strike sometimes because it's really dumb. Sunder can be okay to bottle so that you can sunder something and just snipe stuff and then gets your energy back. But then there are lots of mobs where Sunder isn't good, in which case you're like having a harder time killing bosses because you have Sunder in your opening hand every fight. It's just weird. Bottle Lightning. Upon pickup, choose a skill card. At the start of each combat, that card will be in your hand. It's B tier. Really situational, but it can be extremely good. Bottling something like an Adrenaline or an Offering can be really nice. Just every combat you start with extra cards in your hand, start with extra energy. Pretty good. There are lots of times where you're just going to be like, you're going to pick this up and it's like, I have no skills to bottle. This does nothing. But it's more likely that you'll have something good to bottle. There are lots of, you could bottle some sort of draw, something like a Cool-Headed on the defect, something like Acrobatics on the Silent is okay. It's very situational. Bottle Tornado does the same thing, but gives you a power. A bit better, A tier. The issue with this is that a lot of the time it's just going to be useless. In fact, I could almost see it I'm going to put it at the top of B tier, actually. Just because there are a lot of times where you see this on Elite Act 1. You're your first Elite in Act 1. And you're like, okay, I need a Relic to help here. And then it's a Bottle Tornado and you haven't taken a power yet because you didn't see any good ones yet. And you're like, cool, thanks. I just lost a bunch of HP for no reason. It sucks. It sucks. But there are lots of really good powers. And powers scale throughout the course of the game. The earlier you play a power, the more you're going to be playing a combat with that power. And powers are a lot of the time what help you beat bosses, what help you beat a lot of combats. It's pretty good. It's pretty nice to have. But it's very situational. Next up, Brimstone. This is a shop relic. At the start of your turn, you gain 2 strength, and all enemies gain 1 strength. Put this at the top of B tier. This Brimstone is really hard to make work. It's really good for most of the game. It's really good in like hallway fights because you just smack shit and you kill them. Pretty good against most bosses because you just scale fast. It's really bad against the heart, and it's really bad against the Act 4 elites. And I do kind of judge this based off of how well this helps you beat the heart. And it's very hard to take Brimstone. The 12 attack, the heart multi attack is just so hard to get around when you have Brimstone. And like you're not going to scale faster than the heart is. You just can't. It's not going to be a thing. Not because it has the stupid I can't die ability. So you can't just smack it hard enough. So Brimstone is very hard to beat the heart with. You have to have a very good blocking deck. But if you're just trying to beat the game, you're not trying to beat Act 4, which is not what I want to do. Every time I play, I try to beat Act 4. It is, it is really good in that instance. It's just, it's so bad against the heart exactly. I can't put it in like A tier. I do think it's like an A tier relic if you're not outside of exactly the heart. But the heart fight and a lot of the other multi-attack fights are just really rough. Bronze Scales. It's like B tier. It's really good against certain fights, kind of useless against others. Bronze Scales gives you 3 thorns, if I can find it on here. It's a common relic. Whenever you take damage, you deal 3 damage back. Basically, whenever someone tries to attack you, essentially. Yeah. It's really good against birds, really good against the heart, for instance. All the fights that Brimstone is bad in, Bronze Scales is good in. That's just sort of how it works. But it does less. 3 damage, it adds up. It's basically like kind of like playing a free attack, but it's not enough, and there are lots of fights where it doesn't do too much. So it's okay. It's nice to have. Burning Blood. A tier. This is a starter relic for the Ironclad. At the end of combat, heal 6 HP. It's really good. It's really nice to have healing outside of combats, you know? Or outside of campfires. And knowing that you have this is really nice. It lets you, like, for instance, if you're going to take, like, 6 damage on turn 1 in a fight, you can just be like, I'll just take it. I'll just take that. I'll block a little bit less. This is my Burning Blood HP, and then I'll get into a situation where I can win this fight. That does a lot. You can also, if you're at like half HP, the ability to have healing all the time, no matter what, is just, it's really nice. And it's also really good, and part of the reason why I put it at A tier over these other healing relics is because it's specifically on the Ironclad. And the Ironclad has cards like Hemokinesis, it has Offering, it has a bunch of cards that say pay life to do stuff. And those cards are really good. And part of why they're so good is that you have this to give you your HP back. So you don't have to worry about it. And I think since I know I'm in a situation where I want to play with my HP more, that makes me value Burning Blood more than I value these. Where I might be in a situation where I don't really care about getting my HP as much. So the consistency here is why I value Burning Blood more. It's more consistently useful, whereas these at their peak, I mean, Birdface Star at its peak is an S tier relic. I don't think Burning Blood is ever that good. This can also be an S tier relic if you've got really going. But sometimes they're not as good. Sometimes they're like C tier relics. So that's why Burning Blood is an A tier, because it's more consistently something I really want to play with. Next up, Busted Crown, boss relic. First energy relic. Gain 1 energy at the start of each turn. During card wars, going to have 2 fewer cards to choose from. D tier. This shit sucks. You only ever take this as, if you see this in Act 1 as your boss relic, don't take it. It will lose you the run. Never do that. You can take it during Act 2 sometimes if you're really desperate for energy, but like even then, you have to be in a situation where it's like, I know this deck can beat the heart. I know it can. I just need an extra energy. But you're very rarely in a situation where you're like, man, my deck's powerful enough to kill the heart right now. I just need more. I just need something strong. Like, that's very rarely going to come up. And this kills your run. Only seeing 1 card for card rewards, it's barely seeing card rewards at that point. Even if you see good cards, the likelihood that you want them in your deck is very low. So we're selecting for so few cards at this point that it's like, it's so hard to, like, once you take Busted Crown, you're barely going to take cards, essentially. Like, you're never pressing the take card button. So it's just, it's better to just let it die. Next up is, I think this is Cables. I forget. This is like, I think it lets you trigger one of your passives again. For the defect. This is a defect only relic. Okay, uncommon relic defect. Your rightmost orb triggers passive zero time. This is basically a free loop, I think it's the card. It's really good. High B tier. It's really good on orb decks for the defect. You're not always building orbs. But even then, you can still get some value off of it, right? If you have like the defect starter relic plus this, that's like 6 damage every turn now. Which is nice. And even if you're building like a claw deck, you could still use like 6 damage every turn, an extra 3 damage every turn. Pretty nice. And you can probably still use something for it. It scales a lot. It's not going to win you the game on its own, is the thing. I don't think it wins you the game on its own. But it does a lot of value. It's a lot of value. So actually, I think it is low A tier. I think it's better than all these things, honestly. Looking at it, yeah, this is a lot better than Akabeko. It's a lot more consistent than Art of War. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think it's low A tier. Let's go to Calipers. Calipers is funny. At the start of your turn, lose 15 block rather than all your block. This is barricade at home. Essentially, it is a very bad barricade. This is like low B tier. Um, this is almost a D tier relic. This almost never does anything. It 90% of the time, you will not have 15 more than 15 block than you need. And even if you're on like a turn where you're not getting hit, why am I going to use my entire turn, all my energy, getting a bunch of blocks so that I can save? Like, why would I play a bunch of cards to get like 25 blocks so I can get 10 extra block next turn? Why not spend that energy doing something that actually helps him win? It's very rarely good. However, it is the only way to get this sort of barricade effect on cards, on classes like the Defect and the Watcher. And it also really helps, it can help the Silent a lot. Silent has Blur, but you're not always going to have Blur in your deck, and maybe you haven't seen it, maybe you haven't seen it at the time where you could actually take it. And even with Blur, Calipers helps a lot. Calipers makes Blur even better. And there are lots of situations where it's like, okay, I'm going to have a turn where I can go ahead and gain, like, Mondo block. Like, I'm Act 3, I can gain, like, 100 block this turn because I'm going to go off, but I'm not necessarily going to be able to do that next turn. And, you know, sometimes you're just playing your cards and you end up with, like, 60 block or something, and you're not taking too much damage, and the next one you have... You Caliper triggers, you get 45 block, and then you see that you're being attacked, and you're fine. You can just like spend your turn not caring about it, and that's an incredibly strong effect. Barricade is one of the strongest cards that I think the Ironclad has access to. Barricade is extremely good, and if this was just Barricade, it would be S tier. It would be fucking broken, but and there are times where it is an S tier rock. There are lots of times where this does win you the game. But it doesn't win you the game very often. And because of how inconsistent it is, it's just a B tier relic. Calling Bell, another boss relic. Obtain a special curse. You could gain the curse of the bell or whatever, which can't be removed from your deck, and 3 relics. A common, and uncommon, and a rare relic. This is okay. I think this is like low B tier. I very rarely take this. 3 relics are nice. The curse it gives you doesn't actually do anything bad. It's just a big fat curse in your hand, which you can play around. On a 16-20, this is probably a lot worse because then you have to deal with the Cinder's Bane and the Curse of the Bell. I don't play on a 16-20 very much, or at all, actually. So having 1 relic in my deck is pretty manageable, or having 1 curse in my deck. So I'll click on this sometimes. I'll probably click on it above stuff like Empty Cage and Busted Crown a lot in Act 1. I very rarely skip boss relics. I basically never. I don't think they give you too much value. And there are lots of really good relics in the game. There are lots of really good common relics. There are lots of really good other relics as well. So I think this is very, very good. But adding a curse to your deck that you can never get rid of is pretty bad. This is one of the situations where Blue Candle is actually really good. If you get Blue Candle Act 2 and you have to click on Calling Bell last act, that's good. That's one of the situations where Blue Candle is really, really strong. Next up, we have Captain's Wheel. Starting your 3rd turn, gain 18 block, another S tier relic. It's just Anchor on turn 3. It gives you more block, which is nice, but like, whatever. It's not super important. Getting free block on a turn where you know you're going to have access to it, because pretty much every combat is going to go to turn 3. And if it's not going to turn 3, you don't need the block, honestly. There are very few combat that you win on like turn 2. It's usually you either win them on turn 1 or like turn 4 or something, right? For most hallway fights. So this is really good. The free block is going to block so much damage for you. It's really nice. Next up, Cauldron. When obtained, you brew 5 random potions. High B tier. There are lots of really good potions. Lots of really strong things. There are lots of situations where this is a shop only rule, so you have to buy it from the shop, where you're going to be sitting there and you're like, okay, I need something here. What can I buy? And you see an elite coming up, and then you see this cauldron, and you're like, I can probably find like a duplication potion and a fire potion or something to kill this elite. I can probably do that. 5 potions is a lot. It's a lot of potions. You get to see a lot of different things, and it can really, this can just like help you kill an elite. And if it's like, sometimes it's like the burning elite or something, and that's really nice. And then you can probably save one of the potions. This is also probably bad at higher ascensions. Worse, because you only have 2. But it can do a lot. Next is Centennial Puzzle, if I can find it. right here. It's a common relic. First time you lose HP combat, draw 3 cards. B tier. Really strong. It can do a lot. There are definitely some situations where you can't do much off of it. Drawing 3 cards. Drawing cards isn't as good in this game as a lot of other things, and a lot of times I want to have better control over when I can draw my cards. I want to be able to like play an acrobatic from my hand because I know I actually want to do stuff like that this turn. This just kind of happens, and it's like, okay, cool, my next turn's better. But there are a lot of the times you're not really gonna wanna take the HP. Sometimes you have to overblock, and you can't take like 1 HP to draw 3. It can just be hard to work with. There are ways to make it a lot better. If this just drew you 3 cards whenever you wanted it, it would be a lot better. But this can be hard to make work. But it does draw you 3 cards, so it can't be bad. Next up is the ceramic fish. Where's fish? Fish common? Fish is common. Whenever you add a card to your deck, gain 9 gold. C tier. It's okay. 9 gold's not enough. It's not enough for me to actually care about this. It just isn't. It's extra gold though, so like, okay. I'm not gonna say no to extra gold, but like, whatever. It's really not worth adding a bunch of extra cards to your deck to get more gold off of this, especially when it's only 9. So I kind of just ignore it whenever I have it, and just take a bit of extra gold because I get it, but it's not enough for it to actually matter. Next up is Champ Belt, wherever that is. Whenever you apply a vulnerable, you also apply a weak. Okay, it's fine. There aren't that many ways to like make a ton of use of it, but it's pretty good value. You could batch things and then you also weaken, but like that's not enough that you're gonna be like, oh man, I'm gonna be able to take so many more like vulnerable cards here. You kind of just use it whenever it happens to be useful. I don't play the Ironclad a lot, but this has never seemed like that impressive to me. Next up, Charon's Ashes. Whenever you exhaust a card, deal 3 damage to all enemies. High A tier, possibly S tier. If I played fucking Ironclad more, I might be putting this S tier. The few times I've taken this, it's been really crazy. There are lots of really great exhaust cards for the Ironclad. There are lots of cards that just exhaust themselves on like every class. This would obviously be broken on the Silent. I guess you can Prismatic Shard for this, right? If you're playing Ironclad, and get some of the shift cards and just like go off. But yeah, this is really. Is this all enemies or is this all enemies? God, that's so broken. That's so good. Yeah, that's like A tier. Next up, Chemical X, Shop Relic. Whenever you play an X cost card, its effects are increased by 2. Like C tier. Here's the problem. The X cost cards are bad. They're just not good. I can't think of any of the X cost cards that I take like consistently outside of like Malaise on the Silent. I just don't like them. I think all the actual cards that do what they do at their costs are way better. And that's like the point of an X cost card, right? But like, it's not like this isn't Magic the Gathering where you're going to be drawing dead at some point, right? It's not like you're ever going to be in a situation where you just want to dump all your mana into something because you have nothing else better to do. You're always going to have something better to do. So I'm never going to be taking X cost cards mostly, and so I don't want to make my X cost cards better because I'm not taking them. So what is the point of this, right? That's sort of the issue I have with Chemical X. If I just grabbed it sometimes and wanted a Shop Relic, I'd probably be going into X cost cards first, and I get Chemical X, and then I go into X cost cards because I have my Chemical X. But you have to go into X cost cards first, and then buy Chemical X, right? Because you're never gonna just take Chemical X and just maybe I'll find a skewer somewhere. And with that being the case, I just never buy Chemical X because I never have anything good to pair it with. Cloak Clasp is next. At the end of your turn, you get 1 block for each card in your hand. It's like A tier. It's sort of like the Ship Relics, where it's just free block, but it's different. It's often just getting you like 2 blocks if you're playing your whole hand, but on the Watcher, you can draw a lot. You obviously have effects like Scrawl or whatever, There are lots of situations where you can just hold this for hold your cards for a little bit of extra block, and getting a little bit of extra block over every turn of every combat adds up. It adds up a lot. This is gonna like save you about as much HP as something like this will, just less obviously. Next up is the corkscrew. It's not actually called that. That's just what I call it. See, this should be a shop relic. I did not know the circlet existed. Where is it? Where is shop? Oh, here it is. Clockwork souvenir. Start of each combat, gain 1 artifact. Really good. Really good in a lot of fights. There are lots of like cards that give you negative effects to play them, and this eats through that. Combining this with Wraith Form is broken. Combining this with Hyper Beam or Bias Cognition is really good. There are tons of things, tons of cards you can combine it with, and it's never bad to have Artifact, right? There are tons of things that try to debuff you, and eating up a charge is just amazing. Next up is Coffee Dripper. This is a boss relic. Gain 1 energy at the start of your turn. You can no longer rest at rest sites. S tier. This is the best energy relic. No questions. Best one that everyone can get, essentially. If I want 4 energy, this is what I want to take. I want to see Coffee Dripper basically every run. You don't want to be resting, especially if you're like not at the Ascendancy. Like I think I play like Ascendancy like 5 or shit a lot just for fun. And if you're healing to full at the end of each act, you do not need to be resting. If you're resting, you're losing. Because what's going to happen is instead of upgrading a card, you're resting, so now your deck's worse, and then because your deck's worse, you're going to be taking more damage. So you're like, if you're pressing the rest button, you're losing the game, essentially, a lot of the time, at least. And having extra energy to play extra block cards, to play extra drop cards, to play extra attacks, to win combat without taking damage is often a much better way to actually keep your HP high than healing is. Especially because there are lots of other cards that we've already gone over. Having Coffee Dripper makes these ones A tier. If I have Coffee Dripper, I want these a lot more. If I don't have Coffee Dripper, they're not as good. But like this is part of what helps a lot of this shit. Coffee Dripper does a lot. Cracked Orb, starter relic. Cracked Core. At the start of each combat, you channel 1 lightning. It's really nice. Having this is so much extra help. This is part of what makes the defect early on playable, I would say. The defect has to scale with all their orb shit, right? That can make early games really hard as the defect. If they didn't have Cracked Orb to give them extra damage, to give them dual cast for a shit ton of extra damage early on, they'd be extremely difficult to play. This is one of the only things that allows the defect to be good. Curse Key. Get 1 energy at the start of each turn. Energy relic. Open a non-boss chest, you obtain a curse. It's pretty good. It's one of the better energy relics, especially if you're taking it after the Act 2 boss and you're not going to open too many more chests. I don't like adding curses in my deck, but you can just skip relics if you really need to. The issue is that all the relics you're skipping might be better than this is. You can also just remove the curses at shop, so you can play around that. I find that I can usually take something better. There are other energy relics that I'd like to take more than this, but this is still really good. Next up is Dormammu, which is somewhere, I think. This is a common relic. At the start of your turn, gain 1 mantra. It's like D tier. This just doesn't do anything. Mantra is really slow. It's very hard to go into a mantra deck. I'm not going to go into a mantra deck because I have this. It doesn't do enough. Getting into Divinity is like you have to be on a turn where it's actually good anyway. And I feel like switching back and forth between Calm and Wrath, because you have Rushdown, you have Simmering Fury, you have stuff like Water to synergize with that more. That's a lot more consistent than trying to go into Divinity, and so this relic that sort of helps you a little bit getting to Divinity is just kind of hard to actually use, so it's pretty easy to pass up. Next up is Darkstone, whatever the fuck. Is this a rare relic? No, it's uncommon. Whenever you obtain a curse, increase your max HP by 6. C tier. When the fuck? Why would I take curses? I mean, it's okay with shit like curse key or whatever, but like, 6 max HP is not even that good of an effect to begin with. It's not something I'm like super excited to have. It's okay, but I'm not gonna. It's not enough to get me to want to take curses. And because it's not enough to get me to want to take curses, I'm probably still just gonna avoid them. And so this isn't good enough. Next up is Data Disc. Data Disc. This is a common relic. Gain 1 focus. A tier. This is really fucking good. This is so fucking good. There are lots of times where, as a defect, you're gonna have a hard time finding cards that gain you focus. You have like Defrag as an option. Then you have like Bias Cog is a rare card, can be hard to find. Consume, if you don't find your capacitors, you can't really play Consume. And so like where are you getting this extra focus from? And Data Disc is one of the best ways to get a lot of focus. So like going to 4 damage on your lightning orbs, or 3 block on your frost orbs is so much value. It is so much value. And that's going to do a ton to carry you. This can be the difference between winning and losing a lot of the time. A lot of the time it's just extra scaling, but extra scaling is never bad. Dead Branch. Whenever you exhaust a card, add a random card to your hand. High A tier. This card is either garbage or it's fucking amazing. There's nothing else there. There are lots of decks where you just go to the moon with this because you just keep getting extra cards, you keep exhausting shit. Like if you're playing something like Shivs on the silent, you don't take this. It will literally kill your run. You have to know exactly when this is actually good. So it's very hard to take, but it's very good. Very good when it's good. Next up, Dolly's Mirror, I think is what it's called. It's a shop relic. Yeah, Dolly's Mirror. On pickup, you clone a card in your deck, essentially. Very high B tier, like top of B tier. There are lots of situations where I have like a rare card in my deck that's super good, and I want another copy of it. There are lots of situations where I have nothing to do with this, and it's not that good. But the control that this gives you over your deck is really, really nice. Going into a shop and clicking Dolly's Mirror and remove card can make your deck so much better. And that's really good. Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher is like a common relic, right? Yeah. Whenever you rest, you get a card reward, essentially. You get to add a card to your deck. Low B tier. It's nice. You don't want to rest. You shouldn't be resting if you can get away with it. And so things that make resting better are just okay. But additional card reward is a lot of value. It's definitely a lot better than I think all the relics in C tier. But it just doesn't do very much, honestly. Duvu Doll. Is this like uncommon relic? Is this a rare relic? For each curse in your deck, you start each combat with 1 additional strength. It's high B tier, strength scaling. You're not going to be adding too many extra curses to your deck, but you might have a curse. There are a lot of situations where you can take curses. This is really good with Curse Key. With Curse Key, I would actually might go out of my way to open some like uncommon and rare chests just so I can have like 2-ish curses in my deck. Because like getting like the difference between having no strength and having like 2 or 3 strength is pretty big. So it's really nice to have that extra scaling. So Duvidal can do a lot. Ectoplasm, boss relic, energy relic. You can't gain gold. Bottom of C tier. Only take this Act 2. You never take this Act 1. There's too much gold you're missing out on. You're buying too much shit in shops. That's good. This shit can kill your run if you take it too early. Not as bad as Busted Crown, but it absolutely can. Emotion Chip. If you lost HP during the previous turn, trigger the passive ability at the start of your turn of all your orbs. That's really fucking good. That does a lot. That's a lot of extra value if you're building any sort of defect deck that has orbs at all is going to get tons of value off of this. Empty Cage. Boss relic. On pickup, remove 2 cards from your deck. Bottom of B tier. It's okay. You click on it sometimes. It's one of the worst boss relics. If you're clicking on this, you're probably not doing too much. It's nice to trim strikes and defends out of your deck, but like whatever. Enchiridion. This is an event relic. Where the fuck is Enchiridion? Start of each combat, add a random power card to your hand. It costs 0 until the end of turn. Low A tier. This is really good. This is a just free value every combat. That's a lot. That does a lot to help out. That this can help you win a run very easily. Eternal Feather. Wherever I can find it. Is it uncommon? Uncommon Rock. For every 5 cards in your deck, you heal 3 HP when you enter a rest site. Also low A tier. That's a lot of healing. Where did I put the other healing things? The thing about this is that, I mean, I guess I feel like this I get more value off of Eternal Feather than I do either of these whenever I get them. It's just like this is like I show up, I heal 12 HP right before the boss or whatever, right? It feels like it does so much more. I mean, maybe these do more if I actually mapped it out. This feels better though. Maybe it is more like here. I don't know. I feel like you can definitely rely on this to heal you more. This is usually healing for at least like 9 HP whenever you go to a rest site. And if you click rest, you're healing like a shit ton of HP. But normally you just click upgrade because this is giving you enough. Mask of the Cleric. Right here, XP by max HP by 1 after each combat. A tier. If you get this early, you will get early because it's an Act 1 event. That's a lot of max HP. That's a lot of max HP. It's really good. Yeah, having that much max HP makes it can make it really easy to run. Fossilized Helix. From the first time you lose HP each combat. A tier. That's a lot. That's so good. That's so good. The fact, the only reason it's not S tier with these guys. Actually, no. It just is. This is basically another version of Anchor or one of these. Sometimes it does less because if you get multi-attack by like the birds or whatever, just prevents 1 damage. Sometimes it does a shit ton more though, and I think it averages out to be as good as the rest of these. These will very often win you games. Fucking is that the icy one? Is that a boss relic? It's not a boss relic. This is a boss relic. Frozen Core. In your turn, if you flip channel 1 Frost Orb. B tier. It's hard to make work. It can be good. There are lots of situations where like giving up the damage from your whatever, like the fact that these are in replacement to your normal relic as opposed to in addition to makes them a lot worse. That's one of the reasons why I don't take these very often. But this one's really good. Frozen Egg. All the eggs are A tier. This one upgrades your powers. Upgrading every power you take for the rest of the run is really fucking broken. I don't know. There's not much else to it. Frozen Eye. Shop relic. You can see the order of your draw pile. I never take this, but I know it's A tier. This is like people just don't play with this because it's fucking annoying. People don't like to have to think that much. But if you do play with it and you do actually like try, it's like one of the best. It's probably one of the most powerful relics in the game. It's up there. It's really strong. Fusion Hammer. Energy relic, boss relic. You can no longer smith. It's okay. It's better than stuff like Ectoplasm or whatever, right? But like taking this after Act 1 or whatever, it fucking sucks, dude. Like it sucks. Like sometimes you'll get like getting like busted Crown Ectoplasm Fusion Hammer as your like relics for Act 1 feels so fucking bad, dude. Like it's so annoying. This is a situation where it's like I'm gonna need some an apotheosis or something to allow me to win this run. I mean, I guess you can have like the eggs and those help out, but still. Gambling Chip. Start of each combat, you basically get to mulligan. You discard any number of cards and then draw that many. S tier. So good. So good. One of the most powerful relics in the game, along with all these guys. I'm going to put you at the bottom of S tier, actually. Just because I never use you doesn't mean you're not that strong. These are all broken. This is one of the best. The consistency this gives you, turn 1, is insane. It means you're never going to have a bad turn 1 again, essentially. Ginger. What the fuck is Ginger? Is this a vent? No. This is a rare relic? You can no longer become weakened. It's okay. Weakened is annoying. It's not that hard to get around though. So it's just whatever. It's nice to have, but like you barely even notice it when you do have it. Giria, A tier relic. You can now lift at rest sites, which gives you +1 strength permanently. Easier to use than Duvidol a lot of the time, and pressing this button, every time I get this, I press this button as much as I can. +3 strength on like any class is insane. And skipping upgrading your cards to get that is okay, because this is like every time you click this, you're essentially upgrading every attack in your deck by 1 damage, which is super worth it. Next up, Golden Eye. It's a rare relic. Every time you scry 2 additional cards. Really good. Incredibly good. A lot of extra knowledge, a lot of like more deck manipulation. It's really strong. You have to have scry cards, which isn't always great, but like it's pretty easy to take. Cut Through Fate's like a common card or something, so it's really good with Cut Through Fate. So yeah, this is incredible. Golden Idol. Event relic. You have to take some damage to get it, but enemy struck 25% more gold. Top of A tier or B tier. Really good. It's just extra gold for free. It's better than ceramic fish because it's gonna give you like way more gold, and that makes it good. Gremlin Horn. Is this a rare relic? Uncommon. It's uncommon. Whenever an enemy dies, you gain 1 energy and draw a card. Pretty nice. That's a lot of value. Helps out like a ton in a lot of fights. And extra energy is always good. The fact that it's a bit inconsistent makes it a lot worse. But like the fact that it draws you the card is what really helps, because like it means that like not only does it give you the energy to play more cards, it gives you the cards to play more cards. So you're never in a situation where it's like, oh, I Gremlin Horn, trigger, I'm like out of the rain, like I can't do anything. It always gives you more action on that turn, and that's really helpful. Whereas Ancient Tisa can like whiff a lot easier, which is one of the reasons why I think this is like so much better. Hand Crank or whatever. Hand Drill. Whenever you break enemy's block, apply 2 vulnerable. Garbage. It does nothing. The extra vulnerable this applies, it's very inconsistent. There aren't that many enemies that block. And the extra vulnerable isn't that much damage, so like who cares? Happy Flower. What the fuck is Happy Flower? Is this a rare relic? What the hell is Happy Flower? It's a common relic. Every 3 turns, gain 1 energy. Really good. You can plan for it a bit better, but it's not that amazing. The fact that it happens no matter what, it's gonna go off about once every combat. It allows you to build your deck around it a lot more than Ancient Tea Set, which means that it's a lot better. You're not always gonna you can put a bit of extra draw into your deck so that you can actually make use of that energy on your Happy Flower turns. You can put in a couple extra 2-cost cards, or more comfortably play some of your 3-cost cards because you have Happy Flower, which is really nice. Next up, this thingy. Swaps Pure Water. At the start of each combat, you add 3 miracles to your hand. A tier. This is basically an energy relic for the Watcher with no downside, which is insane. This is the best swap relic out of all the boss swap relics that happened. All the ones that replace your starting relic with something else. This is the only one that I find myself like clicking somewhat consistently, because it just lets you go from having 1 miracle to having extra miracles, and miracles are busted. Being able to extend your turn like that is really busted, and you can play them whenever you want. Like if any combat goes for 3 or less turns, this is better than an energy relic is. That's not always going to happen, but like it can, and that much extra energy, like being able to go 6 energy on 1 turn if you really want to, it's just so crazy. Horn Cleat. This is another ship relic. I think it gives you like 14 block. It's also S tier. All the ship relics are S tier. They're busted. This one should be an uncommon relic. Gain 14. Really good. Kite. This is a boss relic. Whenever you discard a card each turn, the first time you discard a card each turn, you gain 1 energy. Really good. Basically just an energy relic for the Silent with discard decks. A lot of time you can just take it, even if you only have, if you have like a really bad boss relic pool, you can take this and be like, oh, I'll use it with Survivor, I'll make sure to take a few more prepares or something, and then I can get extra energy. And so it basically just lets you play with 4 energy for the rest of the game. Really nice. But it does take a little bit of work to get to work, which is a pretty good downside for one of these. Ice Cream. Is Ice Cream a boss relic? It is not. I always forget how I get this. Energy is not conserved between turns. S tier, this shit's broken, dude. It's hard to use, but playing with Ice Cream is just incredible. It lets you do so much. If you have any draw, you have any high cost cards, you have anything, you can just sit there and every turn you're like, okay, do I actually need my energy this turn? You can think about it, and you can just be like, I don't need that damage this turn. I don't need to play this strike for 6 damage. I'll conserve this energy, and then I'll do something stronger some other turn. Or anytime you're like, I don't need to block this much. I have enough block. I'll just pass turn. You get to save your energy. It's incredible. Next up, Instance Burner. It's a rare relic. Every 6 turns you get 1 intangible. Top of A tier. It takes a little bit of work to win you the game with it, but it can certainly do that. And there are also just so many times, even if you're just like playing completely haphazardly, not trying at all, that this will just do a shit ton for you. It's really, really strong. Ink Bottle. Uncommon relic. Every time you play 10 cards, draw a card. Conserves between turns. Bottom of A tier, still really strong though. Just extra draw lets you do more shit. You can play around it. You can set it up so that you get to draw an extra card. The start of combat next turn by like playing some extra cards at the end of one combat, so it's ready next turn. It does a lot. It does a lot. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice to just draw some extra cards. Inserter. This is a boss relic for the defect. Every 2 turns you gain 1 orb slot. Bottom of S tier. This is one of the best relics for the defect. There are some situations where it's not good, but like it's very easy to make this good. And if you're playing like an orb strategy at all, Inserter is like the perfect card. It's really good with Consume. It lets you play Consume without much of a downside, basically. The orb slots it gives you the perfect speed so that you can keep your orb slots full and still be able to evoke them and shit. So you get to get a ton of value off of it. It is so good. Like if I see this and I'm playing the defect, I almost always click it. Not like literally always, because sometimes it's not good. Obviously you have to think about it, but like it's very tempting. Juvu Bracelet. Or whatever, Juzu Bracelet. Is that what it's called? Yeah, regular enemy combats no longer are encountered in question mark rooms. Doesn't fucking do anything. It's bad. I don't care. I honestly don't care if I go to a question mark room if I see an event or I see a fight. It doesn't matter to me. I don't want this. I don't want this non-value in exchange for an actual relic that can actually help my runs. Kunai, A tier. It's fucking so good. So good, man. Every time you play 3 attacks in 1 turn, in a single turn, you gain 1 dexterity. That's a lot of scaling. That's free scaling. That's really good. I play the Silence a lot, so obviously I love this, but that's a lot. That does a lot. It just happens. It's pretty easy to play 3 attacks in a single turn, especially on certain classes. And it does so much. It's one of the best ways, I think, to scale in a lot of fights. Lantern gives you 1 energy at the start of your first turn. It's really good, very consistent. You always know what's going to happen. It lets you take slightly more expensive cards. If I have a Lantern early on, it means I know I can take some stuff like some backflips or some cool-headeds or some pommel strikes or whatever sort of like cycling cards, and just be like, all right, my deck's way better now because now on turn 1 I know I can have some extra energy to spend, so I can take some things more focused on drawing. I know I can play more consistently, play more powerfully. Does a lot. Lee's Waffle is a shop-only relic. I'm trying to remember. Raise your max HP by 7, then heal all your HP. high B tier. Very, very inconsistent, but like heal all your HP is a busted line of text to see on something. And being able to find it at a shop is really nice. There are so many situations where you'll go to a shop, you'll be like at half HP, not really sure what you need. See Lee's waffle and be like, all right, let me look at the map. let me figure out my pathing here. And then like it just lets you take extra elite fights. It lets you take way riskier paths because you've got to heal a full. That's really nice. Letter opener. Uncommon relic. When we play 3 skills in a single turn, you deal 5 damage to all enemies. Really strong. Playing 3 skills in a turn is a bit difficult, but it's not that difficult. Doing 5 damage to all enemies is really good. Really good. Very nice to have. Lizard Tail. Whenever you would die, instead heal a half HP and consume this relic. It's B tier. Lizard Tail is helpful, but it's not like amazing. It doesn't actually give you any value is the thing. It's just like a safety belt, a safety net. And that means that it doesn't actually help you not die, right? So like you're still, if you die, you still die, right? It's not like it's not helping you do more damage. It's not helping you get more block to stop it so that you don't die. It just makes it so that when you do die, you're not dead forever. So it's okay, but it's not amazing. Fucking flower thing. Healing is 50% more effective during combat. It's okay. It's okay. Ironclad has more shit to do with this than a lot of other things, but like, it's an okay healing relic. It doesn't do that much. Most of the healing relics are not very good. Mango. Max HP by 14. It's okay. I don't really care about max HP. It doesn't actually matter that much. It's very hard to gauge like the actual power. Like this doesn't raise the power of your deck. It just means you can take a bit more damage, and that's not that helpful in all honesty. Mark of Pain, C tier energy relic. You start combats with 2 wounds in your draw pile, and you gain 1 energy at the start of your turn. You can deal with the wounds. It's okay. You need to make sure you build a lot of extra draw, a lot of extra exhaust into your deck, but. Yeah, don't take this very often. It is one of the worst energy relics. Matryoshka. B tier. It gives you 1 extra relic, essentially. When all said and done. Where is this? Where's the Matryoshka? The next 2 non-boss chests you open contain 3 relics. Or 2 relics. So the first time, it just gives you a replacement for itself. The second time, it gives you 1 extra relic. It's okay. Ma Bank. When you climb the floor, you gain 12 gold. No longer works when you spend gold at a shop. That's a lot of gold. It's a lot of free gold. I like it more. It's probably as good as Golden Idol. These could both probably, like, they're both high B tier relics. It's nice to have that much extra gold. It does break eventually, but like you can climb like 8 or 9 floors, get like enough gold for a whole nother card, a whole nother remove, a whole nother purchase off of this, and that's really helpful. Next up, meal ticket. Where's the meal ticket? Shut up, Lilo. It's a common rock. Whenever you enter a shop, heal 15 HP. Goes with all the other healing rocks. This one's really good. It's nice. Meat on the Bone. Meat on the Bone is the best healing relic in the game. It's the one that's the easiest to use, the one you can make the most out of. If your HP is at 50% or below at the end of combat, heal 12 HP. That's really nice. This is the only one that like heals for a good amount and can heal you like over and over again. You can be at like 1/4 HP and then end up at like a little bit above HP after 3 fights if they go well. You can end up getting meat on the bone like every single combat and heal like 12 HP every combat essentially. It's so good. It's so strong. Medkit. Medkit lets you play your status cards, exhausting them. B tier. It's really useful. It's useful in a lot of situations. It's not something you'll always want to take. It's good for certain fights, but it's like, it's whatever. It's good. It's good for Mark of Pain, I guess, but like, it's okay. It just doesn't do that much. It doesn't like make you go to the moon or anything. It just, it makes your deck less bad. It doesn't make your deck better, which I know is a weird thing to say, but it is true. Next up is this fucking thingy. Whenever you shuffle your draw pile, you scry 3. It's really good. There's a lot of consistency. Happens lead into a fight, but a scry 3 is a scry 3. Membership card. Membership card. Where the fuck it is. Where the fuck is the member? It's a shop only relic. You buy from him, 50% discount on all products. It's really good, man. If you find this early on, like, you can get so much value out of shops. Shops give you a ton of extra consistency. I don't know if it affects the remove option or not, but the remove option is one of the most powerful things in the game. So yeah, like that's really nice. Mercury Hourglass, B tier. Start each turn, deal 3 damage to each opponent. It's a worse bronze scale because it doesn't scale off of anything. They don't have to attack you, but like generally they're gonna attack you. So yeah, low B tier relic. Molten Egg. It's an egg. Eggs are A tier. Every time you add an attack to your deck, upgrade it. Yeah, that's good. Mummified Hand. Tippity top of A tier. Whenever you play power, a random card in your hand costs 0. The problem with powers is that they're bad on tempo. When you play a power, you aren't spending that mana playing something else, which means that you are doing less on that turn. Mummified Hand completely takes that away. Lilo, over here. Come on. It's my dog. My brother's dog, technically. Mummified Hand makes it so every time you play a power, you get that energy back. Sometimes sometimes you get more energy, because now you get to play a card for free, which is broken. It makes taking powers way easier. It makes it makes your decks like way more consistent. It makes you able to start your scaling and all the stuff you need in order to win fights way more easily. Sometimes it can let you play your entire hand for just like free, and then you play a draw card and you just go to the moon. It's really good, really good. This is like mutagens, right? Mutagenic Strength. Surge combo 3 strength, lose at the end of your turn. This is basically an Akabeko. That scales differently. It's for an entire turn rather than just for your first attack. Does about the same thing though. It just makes you stronger for a little bit. Necronomicon. First attack played each turn that costs 2 or more is played twice. When you obtain this relic, you get the Necronomicurse, which can never go away. Super worth it. Super duper worth it. High A tier. It's not always good. Sometimes you have to... It's not always good in your deck. But there are a lot of really strong 2-cost attacks, and being able to play them twice is really strong. Neo's Lament. This is an event. Yeah. Enemies in your first 3 combats have 1 HP. One of the best ways to start a run. It's really strong. Really helpful. Helps you get set up. It just makes the early game a lot easier, essentially. Can give you 1 HP at least, which is very funny. But that's about it. Nilri's Codex. End of each turn, you can choose 1 of 3 random cards to shuffle into your draw pile. Also A tier. I think all the books are A tier. Let's put them next to each other. They just help a lot. They give you a lot of extra value. Nilri's just lets you look at so many extra cards. And looking at extra cards, just does a lot. Like, looking at extra cards is like the name of the game, right? And being able to shuffle in a card for even just 1 combat, it can help you like find cards that are like very suited for the combat you're in, even, right? So, like, for example, if you're playing against somebody who does a lot of multi-attacks, you can shuffle in more piercing whales or more flame barriers or whatever to counter them. And that makes it really strong. Nilri's Codex is really nice. Ninja Scroll. Add 3 shivs to your hand. The start of combat. It's just 9 extra damage. It goes next to Akabeko. It scales with certain things. It scales with mutagens. Really good, actually, because it gives you 3 strength. It's nice. Next up, this is an event relic. It is Noloth's Gift. Triples the chance of receiving rare cards as monster rewards. Yeah, it's nice. You have to give up a relic for it, but it can be worth it. Nuclear battery, high A tier. Channel 1 plasma at the start of each combat. It does work on the first turn, meaning that you get 4 energy on your very first turn and 4 energy every time after that. One of the better energy relics. Actually, this is probably S tier for the silent at least, or for the defect. One of your best energy relics in the game. Nunchaku. Every time you play 10 energy, get a 10 attacks, get an energy. Very consistent. It's like ink bottle but for energy, so it's better because it gives you energy instead. And energy is generally a lot harder to come by than cards in this game. Oddly Smooth Stone. Gain 1 dexterity. B tier. It's just extra scaling. It's always good. Odd Mushroom. It's okay. When you're vulnerable, you take 25% damage rather than 50%. It helps. It's hard to rate. I always forget that it's active whenever I have it. Old Coin. High A tier. Pick it up, gain 300 gold. Awesome. That's super nice. This is so much, okay. Where are the other, good mob bank in these two? These will give you, 100, 150-ish gold throughout a run if you keep using them. This might give you more, but it takes forever. This is 300 gold all at once. That's, so much gold. You get to buy, 2 rare cards. Or, a potion, a remove, and a relic. Or some shit at the next place you go. That's so much, dude. It's so much gold. Just buy everything. I always want to pick that up. Omamori, C tier. Prevent the next 2 curses you get. It's alright. It synergizes with some stuff. It's whatever. Next up. Pellets. Whenever you play an attack, a skill, and a power on the same turn, you remove all your debuffs. It's a bit situational, but it is really good. It's sort of like the where's the thing that gives you artifact? It's sort of like that, except you have to work for it. But working for it can be fine. And it can do it more than once. So I'm gonna put this in A tier. It's probably, I do think it is better. Yeah. Orichalcum, B tier. Into your turn, if you have no block, gain 6 block. It's okay. Helps you take hits better. It's not particularly strong though. 6 block isn't enough most of the time, so I'm never gonna give up playing block cards to get my Orichalcum. So it's whatever. Ornamental Fan. I'm trying to remember exactly how much this does. Whenever you play 3 attacks in a single turn, gain 4 block. Okay, it's really good. 4 blocks, quite a bit. There are lots of situations where you can just go off late game, play a ton of cards in one turn. This makes you gain a shit ton of block doing that. That's awesome. Orrery. Choose and add 5 cards to your deck. This is like Cauldron, but better. Because it's more likely that you want more cards than it is that you want more potions. 5 card rewards is a lot of card rewards. That lets you see 15 cards, dude. That's so many cards. Lilo, shut up. This can help your deck a lot of the time. It's a bit risky to click on, but dude, anything could be in here. Anything could be in this. Pandora's Box, A tier. One pretty nice boss rock to click on. Whenever you click on it, it will transform all strikes and defense in your deck into random cards, and therefore make your deck better. There are very few Pandora's Boxes that are actually worse than what you had before. Panties, Pantograph. Start off boss combat, heal 25 HP. Basically just gives you a free rest for bosses. Really nice. Makes it a lot more consistent. Makes it a lot easier to fight some fights. It doesn't actually do too much, but it does give you a boost that you might need to be able to win. That's really nice. Paper Crane. I wonder if I can find this. Isn't this a silent Jolly Relic? It is. Weakened enemies deal 40% less damage rather than 25. That's really nice. The silent has so many ways to weaken things. This can save you so much block. It's not as much it's not as good as a lot of other cards, but as a lot of other relics, but it does do a lot. Next up is Paper Frog on the Ironclad. Enemies with vulnerable take 75% more damage rather than 50% more. Also A tier. They just help a lot. Like, you have a lot of ways of getting vulnerable, a lot of ways of getting weak, and making them better is really good for these classes. Peace Bite. You can remove at campfires. Removing is nice. It's a nice option to have. It can be kind of hard to choose between this and upgrading, but you usually want to remove a few things before you start upgrading a lot of the time. Pair. C tier. I'll click it. I will consider taking the Sapphire Key over the extra HP. What does Pair even give you? It's like 10 or something. It's bad. 10. Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Pin Nib. Bottom of A tier. Every 10th attack you play deals double damage. It's extra damage. It's really nice. Philo Stone. Gain an extra energy, but all your opponents have +1 strength. This is really bad for certain fights. It's really nice for others. Sometimes you just need extra energy and you click it, but it's not really the energy relic I want to be taking a lot of the time. Pocket Watch. Play 3 or less cards in a turn. You draw 3 cards next turn. Really nice. Hard to play around. Like, as in, it's going to take some thought to figure out when it's worth playing, but it can do a lot for you. Drawing extra cards is good. That's all there is to it. Potion Belt. You gain 2 potion slots. High B tier. It's nice. It's really nice to have the extra potions. Potions are good. They're powerful. And having extra slots just means you can carry them for longer. It means that stuff like Cauldron is a lot better. But like all the time, you're not necessarily like wanting them that much. Potion, Prayer Wheel. Normal combats have an additional card reward. S tier. This wins you runs. Getting to see this many extra cards it lets you find the cards you need to take your deck to the moon. You always want this. If you see Prayer Wheel, you should almost always take it. It's so good. Preserved Insect. Elite combats have 75% HP instead of 100 HP. That's really good. Killing elites gives you more relics, and get more relics is how you win runs. So you're gonna want Preserved Insect is really nice. Really nice to just have a bunch of extra damage on your elites. Prismatic Shard. This is like a different way of playing the game. It's kind of hard to rank it. You don't take it very often because it's not actually worth the gold a lot of the time. I think it's a shop only relic, right? It is. Yeah, but it does a ton for you. If you take it. The class's cards are not meant to be mixed like that, and so being able to is really, really good. Pure Water. A tier. Their shit is broken. Gives you a miracle at the start of combat, which is a card that just gives you 1 energy and exhausts for 0. Busted. Unfair. Not okay. Not okay. Question card. Prayer Wheel, but worse. Still S tier. See, once you see an extra card during each card war, so you see 4 cards. Insane. Just absolutely insane. Being able to find the cards you want is how you win. So, yeah. Red Mask. I believe this is an event relic that it gives 1 week to all enemies. Yeah, that's nice. Sort of like a bad anchor, where it just reduces the damage you take turn 1. Or like Bag of Marbles, but for blocking. It's pretty okay. Red Skull. While you HP is at or below 50%, you have 3 strength. It's really good. That's really good. That is a lot of extra strength. You do have to play around it, but like there's a good chance you're going to be at or below 50% of your HP quite a bit. That happens in this game, especially during like boss fights and shit. In which case, that's when you really need the extra scaling. So this is helpful. Regal Pillow. You gain extra HP when resting. It's okay. It's a healing relic. It's a bad healing relic. Actually, yeah, no, fuck this. This isn't C tier. This shit is just not that good. First off, Ring of the Serpent. You draw 6 cards each turn. Ring of the Snakeless. You draw 7. Where's Bag of Prep? It's right next to Bag of Prep. It's the same fucking thing. Ring of the Serpent, however, Ring of the Serpent lets you draw 6 cards each turn. This shit is also really good. I'm gonna put it in B tier because it's not worth taking it over other boss relics. It's the opportunity cost that makes this a bad relic. It's just not as strong as most of the other boss relics. However, it is still good. I still think Ring of the Serpent is worth clicking. I've heard people argue that it's not very good because over 2 turns you draw the same number of cards as you do with a backup trap, essentially, which is true. However, that doesn't fucking matter. That's who cares. So the thing about Slay the Spire is, what you want is with card draw isn't about value in Slay the Spire. Card draw is about having the options you need in order to play the cards you need. And 5 cards, you will usually find what you need, but not always. 7 cards, you basically always get what you want. 6 cards will usually give you what you need for a turn, right? And your success rate, I think, with getting 6 cards every turn is higher than getting 7 cards on one turn and 5 cards on another. I think overall you are getting more out of your turns if you have 6 cards every turn than if you do but just having a 1 7-card turn followed by a bunch of 5-card turns. The consistency that this gives you is really nice. It is, however, a boss swap relic, and boss swap relics are, as a rule, ass, because they require you to give up something in order to get something good. It really sucks. Runic something or other. Runic Capacitor. Search combo 3 additional orb slots. That's good. It's just extra orb slots. It's just a free capacitor. Yeah. Runic Square. Q. Whenever you lose HP, draw a card. It's like a continual puzzle, but worse. Because it only draws you 1 card. Runic Dome. I don't play with Runic Dome. I'm a pussy. Runic Dome says it's an energy relic, boss relic, but you can't see enemy intent anymore. I don't know the game well enough to play with this. It is really good. It is, in some senses, the most powerful energy relic because it doesn't actually cost you anything if you're just that good at the game. However, you are not that good at the game. So, you're going to get cunked. Runic Pyramid. High A tier. Barely not S tier because it makes you lose sometimes. You do not discard your hand at the end of your turn. Ever. You just don't discard. This shit is broken. This shit will lose you runs. It will clog your hand up with garbage strikes and defense sometimes that just kill you. However, if you have a deck that can filter out cards fast enough, and you built your deck around being able to do that and around Runic Pyramid to some extent, it is one of the best relics in the game. Being able to control when you play cards and being able to hold on to extra cards essentially every turn is insanely good. It is just so good. Sacred Bark. Double C effectiveness of potions. It's a boss relic. If this weren't a boss relic, it would be way higher. But since it's a boss relic, and since you have to like give up an energy relic or like an astrolabe for this, it's just not that good, man. It's just really not that good. I do like it more than like Empty Cage, but like not by too much. Next up is Self-Forming Clay. Whenever you lose HP in combat, you gain 3 block next turn. Helpful. There's a lot of extra block. High B tier relic. Shovel. You can dig at rest sites, giving you a random relic. C tier. The thing is, you need to upgrade your cards. There aren't that many situations where you can just go digging, and often like a random relic might not even be as good as upgrading a card in your deck. I know that's weird to say, but like the thing is that like while relics are really good and relics help you win runs, you also need your cards to actually fucking do something. And if you don't upgrade enough of your cards, if you don't get your cards to a high enough power level, you're just gonna fucking lose. And so you can't just keep clicking dig all the time. You can't do that. Shuriken is kunai, but with attack instead of dexterity. Gives you strength. Also, just as good. It's just as good. They do the same shit. They're so fucking good. Singeing Bowl. It's B tier. One of the things about Slay the Spire that a lot of newer players don't know is that the skip card reward button is one of the most powerful buttons in the game. Keeping your deck small is really good. It's one of the reasons why removing is such a good option. And sometimes it's just better to not take an extra card. However, being able to get a benefit every time you don't take a card is really good. It makes one of the most powerful buttons in the game even more powerfuler, which is objectively based and epic. Slaver's Collar. Boss in Elite fights, you get an extra energy for. It's really nice. Helps you. Bosses and elites are where most runs live or die. Having a better time against them is really nice. It helps a lot. Sling of Strength. I believe that's what this is called. This is like a shop relic? It is. Elite combats, you start with 2 strength, not against bosses. It's like worse than Slaver's Collar by quite a bit. But it's still really nice. 2 extra strength is a lot. So getting to have that just does a ton, man. Just does so much. Just so much value. So much value. Where's the Smiling Mask? The Merchant's card removal service always costs 50 gold. High B tier. Removing is one of the best things you can do in the game. Being able to do it more consistently is really good. Sometimes it just gets too expensive because you're going to want to almost remove it like almost every shop, essentially. And so having it capped so that it only costs 50 helps a lot. Silent. This is a snack of skull. Whenever you apply poison, you apply 1 more poison. Really good. Helps your poison runs a lot. It's really nice. However, you're not always on poison. If you're on poison, there's like an S tier relic. It's really good. It helps so much. But you're not always playing poison on silent, so sometimes it just doesn't do anything. And so that's why it's only A tier. Snecko Eye. A tier. Sort of like Runic Pyramid, but a little less extreme. You draw 2 extra cards each turn, and you are always confused. So the thing about Snecko Eye is that Snecko Eye decks are really fun, but you can just get conked. Sometimes if you're building a deck and you click Snecko Eye and you mostly have 1-cost cards, it will just fuck you. It'll just give you tons of 2-cost cards. The thing is, with Snecko Eye, is you need to have a deck that can play like a 3-cost card that got confused and was still 3 and be okay. You need to be able to have cards that are powerful enough that you cannot play a ton of them. So generally with Snecko Eye, what you want to do is decrease the cost of your 3 and 2-cost cards to less than that, right? To 1 and 0. However, that's not always going to happen, and so you just like you can't play a ton. You can't just put Snecko Eye in a random deck and think it'll work, because while the confusion status isn't as bad as it seems, if you haven't like actually built your deck to be okay with it, like you're just gonna get fucked so easily. But it's strong. Sozu. Energy Relic. You can't obtain potions. High C tier. It's better than Ectoplasm, but it's not that much better. Potions are really helpful. It's a lot of value. You do not want to take this Act 1. There are a lot of energy relics that you don't take, that you only take because you have to, because you need it for energy to be able to win the game against the heart. And Sozu is one of them. Sozu is one of the ones you only take if you absolutely fucking have to. This is the Serpent Mask, right? One of you enter that room, you get 50 gold. Where are the other gold giving relics? Because there are some good ones here. But this is like A tier, I think. I try to remember where I put the rest of them, but this is like one of the better ones. 50 gold every time you go into a question mark room is like that adds up fast. Like that adds up like really fast, like really really fast. And that much extra gold is enough to do a ton. It's not quite as good as old coin, I don't think, because it doesn't give it to you right away. You have to wait a little bit, but it does give you more gold overall, and that's really really strong. Spoon. I forget what this fucking thing does. Oh yeah, it's whenever you would exhaust a card, it gets this card half the time. High B tier. Sometimes this thing is the most broken fucking thing. It's like Dead Branch, but Dead Branch is a bit more polarizing. This is slightly less, but there are definitely Like, the Silent doesn't want this. However, basically every other class does a lot of the time. There are very few runs where this will kill you outside of ship decks. But it's also just inconsistent. It doesn't say that you can't exhaust cards. It doesn't say it only exhausts one card every turn or something. It's just sometimes they don't exhaust. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's really fucking good. Sometimes it's just okay. So it's nice to have, but it's not like amazing. Strawberry. It's food. 7 HP. Okay. Strike Dummy. B tier. It's like Akabeko, but worse. All your strikes do 3 extra damage. It's really good on the Ironclad. It's like A tier on the Ironclad because you have like dual strike and stuff that you can play with it, which is really good. On every other class, it's like okay. Sundial. What is this? Every third time you shuffle your deck, you gain energy? Yeah. It's really good. There are tons of ways you can make this way better. If you're like on the Silent and you can like get like 4 upgraded calculated gables and reflexes, which I know sounds like a lot, but I've done it before. You can just like rip through your deck so fast and you'll gain like infinite energy. It's really dumb. Outside of doing that, if you just build a deck with quite a bit of draw in it, if you're on, and most classes can do this pretty well, this will pretty consistently give you some extra energy, which can let you extend your plays more. It's a lot. Symbiotic Parasite, channel 1 Dark at the start of combat. Low A tier, really good. Dark is strong. Dark is a really, really strong effect. But it's just like... it's not. It doesn't like scale. It's not like hard drive like scales a lot more with everything. This is just like this is like Cracked Orb 2 essentially. It's you get a lightning every turn. You also get a darkness at the start of combat. So now not only do you get to do a little bit extra damage every combat, you get to do a little bit of extra damage more, which is nice. That's really nice. That's really helpful, especially on the defect who can struggle getting damage out sometimes. Teardrop Locket. Start each combat in calm. It's a high A tier rock. That's so good. The Watcher is so busted. The Watcher is so busted, man. The Watcher is such an unfair character. Calm. Whenever you exit calm, for whatever reason, you gain 2 energy. So this essentially says, gives you a 1-time 2 energy every combat. That's like Lantern, but like insane. That's like busted Lantern. It doesn't quite win you the run. What wins you the run is that you're playing Watcher, because Watcher is insane. But like this does a ton for you. One of the best cards in the game, I think, or one of the best relics. It's like only barely not S tier. I would say it's like right here in terms of value. So I'm only semi-ordering these, but these are like this is top of A tier as far as relics go. I would say all of this is pretty much ordered up to like maybe like around the books is where it stops being ordered. But this is almost S tier. This is also almost S tier. Snekawai is not quite S tier. I would say Snekawai is the first thing that's not close to S tier. Just a high A tier relic. Teardrop Locket does so much. Abacus, the homie. Gain 6 balls whenever you shuffle your draw pile. It's mid A tier. No, it's not. That's worse than Sundial. Sundial might be better than B tier. Shit. It's nice. It's extra block. These might actually... maybe they're just top of A tier then. I don't know, man. These are pretty good. Yeah, I would say they're high B tier. I don't think they're quite A tier relics. I think that everything in A tier does more. But these do quite a bit. They probably do a lot more than... Yeah, they do a lot more than a lot of the things in B tier do. Yeah. Courier. Merchant no longer runs out of cards, relics or potions, and its prices are reduced by 20%. Also a high B tier relic. Saves you gold, and you can buy more shit. Buying more shit's really strong. It does burn more things, burns more relics at the shop, but like, that's okay. Sometimes you can go to the shop and get like 5 relics, which is insane. And like a rare card. So, you know. Really nice to have the courier. The Specimen. Specimen C tier. Specimen. says, whenever an enemy dies, you transfer any poison it has to a random enemy. The problem with this, it's multitudinous. The problem with this is that transferring poison doesn't do a lot, because if most of your like good poison givers give poison to everyone, right? It's like noxious fumes, the flask, bouncing flask, like what is it? Crippling cloud, right? All those give poison to everyone. So like it's transferring the poison you give from like envenom, which is bad, from deadly poison, and from poison stab, essentially, right? And like, who cares? Who cares about doing that, right? Like, just put your poison, spread it more evenly. It just doesn't do that. Like generally, I haven't found too many situations where specimen actually like does all that much more damage. It just isn't that great. It probably is top of the C tier or bottom of B tier. It might be bottom of B tier as far as relics go. Thread Needle, 4 plated armor. Really good. That's a lot of block. A lot of extra block. Team Shot, whenever you discard a card, does 3 damage to a random enemy. Bottom of B tier, or A tier. It's really good. It's like Charn's Ashes, but discarding cards is harder than exhausting cards, which I know is weird to say, but it is. And that means that it's worse. Also doesn't deal damage to all enemies. Part of why Charn's Ashes is so good. Tiny chest. Every 4th question mark room is a chest. That's nice. That's a lot of extra value. It takes a while to actually do anything, but extra chests are extra chests. You can't argue with it. Tiny house. Tiny house is C tier. Tiny house is shit. Tiny house is so bad. Obtain a potion, gain 50 gold, raise your max HP by 5, obtain 1 card, upgrade 1 card. Random card. Does a bunch of tiny little shit. None of them are good. None of the things it does are good. None of them are worth it. You don't want to play this. It just doesn't do enough. Yeah, this is like full opportunity cost, but I would unironically take like Ring of the Serpent over Tiny House like every time. It just does too little. Toolbox. Start each combat, choose 1 of 3 random colorless cards and put the chosen card into your hand. Colorless cards are pretty good. This is also a bottom of A tier relic. You don't always buy it. A lot of times you have better things to spend your gold on, but it does a lot. Like, it can give you like that, like Dark Shackles is a really strong colorless card. It can give you like Apogtheosis, of course. Of course, it has a chance of giving you that. It has a chance of giving you a ton of other really, really strong colorless cards. And the colorless card pool on average is good enough that I think getting to discover one of them, to get 1 of 3, is good enough that you're going to want it a lot of the time. Homie. Also bottom of A tier relic. Whenever you would take 5 or less unblocked damage, reduce it to 1. It helps. It helps a lot. There are lots of times where you can't quite block for enough, especially early on, and this can basically be like 4 extra block for you. And that's nice. That can help you a lot over the course of a run. I guess it's probably like, it's not an A tier. It's worse than Threaded Needle, actually. Yeah, it's definitely better than you, though. Yeah, I would say it belongs at B tier, come to think of it. Tough Bandages. This is the reverse of Tingsha. Whenever you discard a card, gain 3 block. Really good. Really, really good. Unfortunately, discard is kind of hard to come by. But, if you have any discard in your deck, this is really good. Toxic Egg. It's an egg. It's A tier. All eggs are A tier. This one upgrades your skills. Also very good. Toy Ornithopter. Where's the Toy Ornithopter? Right here. Whenever you use a potion to heal 5 HP. It's a healing relic. Healing relics are pretty okay. They're nice to have. Tungsten Rod. Prevent all damage you would take by 1. It's like this, but like way better. It's really good. The reason it's better is because it always works. It shits on the birds. Their 1 times 5 just does nothing. It helps a lot against the heart with its giant 12 damage attack, like 2 times 12. Sorry, 1 by. You mean 1 times 12 now? That helps a lot. It does a lot. It doesn't do as much as like the anchors. It doesn't do it as much, but like this will save you a lot of block over the course of a run. Turnip. Turnip does some weird shit with debuffs. I forget exactly what it does, but it helps. You can no longer become frail. Boy. Low A tier. Frail sucks. Frail is one of the worst debuffs you can get. I know that may sound weird, but like vulnerable it feels easier to deal with than frail because the cutoff for it is just like a lot. I guess there are less things that vulnerable you. Is the issue, right? There are a lot of things that frail you, and frail is really hard to deal with. The thing is about Ginger is that you can just outlast it, right? You can just be like, I'll deal with it. I'll just stall until I'm no longer weakened. Getting frail means you're taking a shit ton of damage, and you don't want to take that shit ton of damage. Poison funnel. Apply 4 poison at the start of each combat. That's free damage, my dude. That's free damage. It's really nice in poison decks, but it eats artifact charges, which is also really helpful. But that's just free damage. You can't say no to free damage. Unceasing Top. High A tier relic. Probably right about here-ish. Maybe like here-ish. If you have an empty hand, you draw a card. It's fucking insane sometimes. Sometimes it never triggers. Sometimes it literally does nothing. But it's never bad. It never hurts you. And there are tons of situations where this will take you to the moon. Tons of situations where you can just gain a shit ton of energy and just play like 8 cards in one turn. Vajra. Where is Oddly Smooth Stone? Down here? Yeah, it's like around here. Pellets is better than both of these. I think Pellets is like here-ish. Yeah, these are like semi-ordered tiers, by the way. Velvet Choker. B tier. Probably better than Fusion Hammer, I would say. Also better than you and you. Yeah. Probably around Calling Bell, I would say, as far as boss arts go. You get extra energy, but you cannot play more than 6 cards a turn. Some decks don't care about that. Some decks are playing big bungus cards, and they can play under it. Some decks really don't like this. Some decks this will completely fucking kill you. But it is an energy relic, and it has one of the easier conditions to work around, I would say, still. And so that makes it okay. Flower. I forget what the flower does. It does something good. I think it's a Watcher relic, is it not? It is not. What is it? Oh, it is a Watcher relic. Whenever you exit comp, gain additional energy. Insane. Absolutely insane. 3 energy for exiting calm is so much. This lets you go infinite with a ton of shit. It lets you just go to the moon on your Watcher runs. Why do they make Watcher so busted? Best class in the game, not even close. War Paint. Upgrade 2 random shits. It's pretty good. Upgrade 2 random skills. Whetstone is also just in there. 2 random skills is nice. Tongs. Upgrade a random card in your hand each turn. But you have to take a curse to get it. And a bad curse, too. Still good. Still really strong. I don't take it very often, but I probably should. Especially if I can remove it. I should think about that more. But it's a very strong. White Beast Statue. Always get potions. It's good. It's like better Cauldron. I'll put it above Cauldron. Being able to play a potion every combat because you don't get another one is pretty nice. It also lets you look for really powerful potions such as Ghost in a Jar. And Ghost in a Jar is fucking insane. So it's nice to have. Winged Boots. Like high B tier. It lets you ignore paths for three times. That's nice. That gives you a lot of value. It's very hard to quantify, but it's always nice to pick up. There's always a lot of shit you can do with it. It does slow you down a lot. Like you have to think a lot more about what you want to do. But that type of freedom, that type of choice, lets you play risky and then bail out if you can't take shit. It lets you do a ton of shit, honestly. Wristblade. Wristblade is kind of a mid B tier item. It's a boss relic, unfortunately. That's why it's so bad. But what it does, attacks that cost 0 deal 4 additional damage. Basically, a free accuracy for your Shiv decks, works with bullet time and a few other things, I guess. But damn, man. I've given up a boss relic for this. I could have gotten an energy relic, and I'm taking this instead. Like that's it does can do a lot, but it's a bit hard to swallow. You know, it's a bit it's definitely a choice. Uh, but it does a lot, and it can do a lot of decks. It's a lot of extra damage, so it's hard to call bad, but it is just not always what you want. Duality. Whenever you play an attack, you gain 1 temporary dexterity. Fucking insane. Why is this an uncommon relic, by the way? It's uncommon. This is you know how Kunai says every time you play 3 attacks, gain 1 dexterity. This is just better Kunai. Because I can just play a couple of attacks, get temporary dexterity, and then play 1 block card and be fine, right? Like why do I need? Like I don't need the dexterity next to be permanent. Also, if you have an artifact charge, it just negates that, right? So you get to keep your dexterity forever. Also, if you have orange pellets, you can play a bunch of attacks, and then remove all your debuffs. And then you just get to keep the dexterity. It's just free dex. Insane relic. Every time I played the Watcher and I've gone in, I've just gone to the moon. It's insane. Almost S tier. But I keep the S tier a very exclusive club. Very exclusive, as you can tell, because there are very few of these. Runic Pyramid should maybe be S tier as well. But it kills you sometimes, so that's why it's not up there. Yeah, I'm generally happy with this list. It's pretty alright. If you have any thoughts, go ahead and leave a comment. Sorry I wasn't very reactive to stream while I was streaming this, but I was focusing. I gotta run. I have other shit to do, so I'm gonna have to click the end stream button like right now. Sorry about that.